Hey guys, what's up? This is Luke. I am back doing another video. It's another raw one, just kind of gonna go over some of my thoughts on some different movie news. My last one was mainly focused on John Wick franchise and what you could do with that. So otherwise today I might talk a little bit about Jurassic World just came out, and Inside Out, maybe some Star Wars stuff. So yeah, as you can tell, huge Star Wars fan. There's a Star Wars poster in the back too, but let's just get into it. First off, I'll start off with the John Wick news. If you haven't seen my first video, you don't necessarily have to watch it. I just kind of went over what I thought would be cool for a possible franchise, because it was such a cool movie, awesome action movie, which we don't get a lot of these days. And just kind of talked about some of my thoughts about, like, my main point was not focusing primarily on the John Wick character, but like more on the hotel that played a part in it, and like going through just following the story through that, which I thought would be cool, because I thought the John Wick was kind of, that story was good and I liked how it ended. But some news broke about a month ago where it was announced that they're working on a John Wick 2, which to me means it was greenlit, so it's probably going to happen, which I'm excited for. But one of the things they said was, for sure the directors are coming back, which is great. That was like my number one thing I wanted. And they're ex-stuntmen, which is cool, whatever. But so they're coming back, and it sounds like they're going to have Keanu Reeves come back. So that means it's going to be following John Wick's storyline, which I wasn't necessarily a fan of, but that's what's probably going to happen. So I'll say some ideas for that. Now, I thought, it'd be cool to just be done with John Wick, but since we're not going to, this is kind of my idea. A little bit of spoilers here, but you've had plenty of time to see the movie, and if you haven't, just go watch it and then come back to this. But so, okay, spoilers. At the end of John Wick, it wraps up pretty nicely. He was in retirement. He had to work hard to get to retirement. That was all. He came out for this one thing, and it made sense that he did, and he fought his way back to retirement. So if he comes back, first of all, I do not want a prequel. I'm sick of prequels. In my opinion, prequels have never worked. I just don't like prequels because the idea of them are cool, but I would just keep going forward. Don't go back, okay? Because there's plenty you can do in the past, but I just go forward. So if we are going forward, I would say do something where he doesn't necessarily have to come out of retirement. I think you could still focus on the hotel. Like, let's say, because in John Wick, again, spoilers sort of, there's this one lady, this woman assassin, who kind of is willing to break the rules and kind of go on her own to do these things that are against the rules of the hotel. So it could be something of like, it was a cool like thing where it was like old versus new, so you could do a thing where there's some newer assassins that are kind of more willing to not to break the rules, and so it's kind of the old order versus the new order, and like the old order is like, we got to control these people, like they're getting out of control, like there's no rules anymore, we need our best dude John Wick, you got to come and help us contain order, bring order back. And I think that would be great, because then you could have old versus new, new people have more technology, different ways of doing things. The old people are set in their ways and kind of go through it that way. And then you kind of have both different people on different sides, like new people on the old people's side and then old people on the new people's side, stuff like that. I think that could be a cool thing, because it wouldn't be like, oh, there's these bad guys and they have this bomb, or they're going to kill people if we don't go stop them, Just try to avoid some cliches like that. So that would be a cool story for one. Another one would be kind of, and then with that, like, that would be the second movie. And let's just say, for movie's sake, they wrap that up. And it is done. It's all wrapped up in that one movie. They restore order. Or they don't restore order. I just thought of that. That would be cool. If they tried and they failed, then what do you do, you know? Or, you know, they restore order, then, I don't know, do something else for the next one. I'm not sure where you'd go from there, but that's kind of how I like some of my favorite movies, like, you know, a really good example is like Empire Strikes Back, the second Star Wars movie. That ended on, like, where do you go from here? They lost. They kept losing in this movie. Like, where do you go? So I kind of like that mentality. But anyway, my other idea would be, like, kind of an apprenticeship. Like, let's say there's this young up-and-coming person who wants to be a better assassin, and who do you go to be a better assassin? The best. You go to learn from the best, which is John Wick, which we've seen. So they go and, like, he's like, no, I'm retired, you know, like, that was just a one-time deal, which we're all kind of thinking at this point anyway. And they're like, no, you gotta train me, and then, like, let's say he's like, well, I'm not gonna come back, I'm not gonna kill anybody, I'm just gonna train you. And it could be like half the movie's trying to convince him. Maybe he sees a little bit of himself in this guy, maybe he's bored with his life and just wants to do something. And then, the only thing with that is we've seen it before. And what would happen would be, he'd train him, and then something would come up, and this young guy would be like, no, I gotta go stop him. And then John Wick would be like, no, you're not ready, you gotta finish your training. And then he goes, and then he messes up, gets, like, kidnapped or something, and then John Wick has to go save him, you know. That would lead to that cliche. But otherwise, I don't really know where you go, you know. You could just go the standard route of, like, John Wick's retired, another dude from his past is, like, messing with him, trying to get him back into the game, or some new threat comes along. You know, you could do other stuff, but I just kind of like a different kind of approach. And the only thing I really hope for is that they bring back the hotel, keep that a mainstay, keep that a focus in it. Because that was one of the best parts, and it was just a small part of the movie, and it was one of the best. So my thoughts are kind of limited there. I haven't had a whole lot of time to think about it, but that's kind of what I thought. Those are just my first couple thoughts on it. Keanu Reeves is great as John Wick. It's good that he's coming back. I would have gone a different way, but it makes sense, and I think they could still go with an original idea for it, and because it could just be like some new up-and-coming bad guy, like, wants to prove himself, wants to show that he's bad, you know, so he, like, keeps messing with John Wick, like, yeah, come on, man, like, antagonizing him, and then finally John Wick comes out and just beats ass and kicks this little kid's ass, you know. I mean, that could happen too. You could go in a lot of different ways. But those are just my first couple thoughts on it. I would have liked to see them go in a different direction, but they're not. Makes sense. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited for the main thing is that the director's coming back. That's really the main thing. So I'm excited about that. Otherwise, this last weekend, Jurassic World came out and blew everyone away by the kind of money it made. It ended up beating Avengers for it has the record for the biggest opening box office weekend of all time, which is nuts. Like, when I heard that, because I went to it Sunday night, and I heard it was, you know, doing a little bit better than people thought, and that's kind of, you know, and so I was like, okay, you know, I wanted to see it, you know, because I'm just like, I just want to see dinosaurs fight. And that's what I got. I liked it. I had a lot of fun with it. Were there some, you know, holes? Was it not the best story? Yeah. But that didn't bother me because I wasn't expecting it to be better than the original. I was just expecting it to be better than the other two sequels, and I think it was. It was a fun time. I had a fun time with it, but I don't think anybody thought it would come close to making $208 million. That is insane. I mean, that is nuts. I think the most, if you would have said it's going to make 150, people would have been like, what? No, there's no way that's going to happen. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, because it hasn't been getting that great of reviews. Critics, like hardcore critics, have kind of been bashing on this movie. And I think it's just, people just wanted to see dinosaurs. You know, people were like, love dinosaurs, and like, I get it. I mean, that's why I went. I wanted to see dinosaurs fight, and I was excited. But I mean, man, I don't know how that happened, because it was just kind of like I was talking to this really good friend of mine. He and I go way back. We're really good friends. We talk all the time. But we were talking. We're like, we had no idea this was gonna happen. Like he was saying, you know, if when years from now, if like that's still the number one. And your kids are like, yeah, do you remember when that came out? Like, what was it like? And then we just be like, well, you know, it was just some movie. Like, I just went to see it, and everybody was there. It's just weird, like, because every other one, like, I think, well, the Avengers, for sure, was a huge phenomenon. I mean, that was just the next big pop culture thing, was Avengers. Like, that was just huge. It was everywhere. And like, and then before that, I think it was the last Harry Potter film, The Deathly Hallows Part 2. And I remember talking to people, because I didn't go to it, because I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan, but people were like, are you going to go to it tonight? And I was like, no. They're like, come on, let's go. And I was like, do you even like Harry Potter? And they're like, no, but it's the last one. And so that was a huge thing, where it was like, you know, we kind of grew up with those characters, whether you like them or not. I think a lot of people were like, I just want to see these, you know, people for the last time. But Jurassic World had nothing like that. It's not been that iconic. There's not like any buzz about it, really. And, you know, the main reason I saw it was I wanted to see dinosaurs fight. I wanted a fun, dumb summer movie, which is exactly what I got. You know, I had heard the director talk on this podcast I watched, the Schmoes Know podcast movie show. Go subscribe to them; they're awesome. Super great content. And but anyway, he was on there and he talked about, you know, his love for Jurassic Park and like kind of some of his childhood and stuff, and that got me to see it, because I was like, this dude seems cool. And I had seen his indie film he did. This is Colin Trevorrow. The indie film, what was it called? Safety Not Guaranteed. And I thought, yeah, you know, it was a fun time, just a small little thing, and this was by far the biggest thing he's ever done, and it made way more than anyone thought. So, and he has said he does not want to do a sequel, and I don't know how you do a sequel to this, but they're going to, because it made this much money already. I'm guessing the sequel's already greenlit. So I don't know where they're going to go with this, but that was pretty nuts. I think it blew everyone away, and it's just like, I don't know. I think this weekend it's going to make a huge drop. I think a historic drop, because people aren't like, I think there's some people like kids who are going to be like, dude, you got to come see these dinosaurs fight, which is what the movie's for. But otherwise, people aren't going to be like, you know, should I go see it? Well, yeah, you know, it's fun, but it wasn't that great. You know, I think that's what everyone's going to say, so there's not a lot of buzz to it. So I think it could have a historic drop in return its second weekend. Otherwise, let's get into Star Wars a little bit here. A lot of news has come out. I'm not going to touch on it all. I'm just going to talk very generally here quick. One of the things a lot of people have been talking about is the Star Wars second spin-off movie, the second anthology movie, that is rumored to be a Boba Fett movie, which Josh Trank was going to direct, but then he dropped out or got fired. There's a lot of speculation with that. I'm not going to talk about that. But a lot of people are talking about who should direct this new one, and what it should ultimately be about. I don't know who should direct it. A lot of people are saying Brad Bird, and I really like that idea. Love Brad Bird, even though Tomorrowland was kind of, you know. But there was, I mean, even just watching that, you're like, this guy loves Star Wars, so I would be great. I would be fine. Just get somebody good, you know, that's all I want. Just a really good director, that's all I could ask for. So, but as far as what I want out of a story for a Boba Fett movie, you know, Boba Fett, I'm not the biggest Boba Fett fan, but obviously he's one of the most popular Star Wars characters, and I think a lot of that is because he doesn't talk barely at all. He can just be badass in the background, like, yeah, I'm Boba Fett, with this mask on and stuff. Which I like him. I don't not like him, but he's just not one of my favorites. But anyway, I think you got to keep that persona. I think the tough thing is that he hasn't had a lot of screen time. There's not a lot of backstory on him, and But what I would do with the movie, if it is in fact a Boba Fett standalone, I'd have him in the Sarlacc pit, which he fell into in Return of the Jedi, which takes 1,000 years to digest, which he has special armor. He could get out of it. I think what I would do, a lot of people are saying just like opening shot, his hand just out of the sand from the Sarlacc pit crawling out. You could do that. You could spend the whole movie inside the Sarlacc pit getting out. I kind of like that idea better. But I can see either way. So my idea for it would be he's in the Sarlacc pit. He's falling down. He's either getting digested or he's just in there, and there's other people in there that are getting digested or have survived because they have special armor, stuff like that. And I think he's just kind of, because his jetpack got, blown up by Han Solo when he stabbed it with the spear and it blew up and he fell in, which is dumb, but so he can't just fly out. But I think what would be cool is if just kind of like I always thought of like a Man with No Name, Clint Eastwood Western type feel where he doesn't talk barely at all. Kind of like Mad Max in a way too, like because Mad Max in those movies doesn't talk. He doesn't need to. I think in the Road Warrior he had 16 lines and that's it. But he's just a figure, and people know who he is. So I think if he's in there, he's just not talking, and people are like, we gotta whatever. Like he makes, because if you watch the first of the Man with No Name trilogy, called A Fistful of Dollars, I think that's if you just watch that, I think that's the perfect way to do it, because he like comes to this town and there's these two families that kind of run the town, kind of like two gangs, sort of two families that run it. And what he does is he keeps working for each of them, pitting them against each other so that he can, just get out, because he's an anti-hero. And I think that's the way to do it, because I think if you have people in the Sarlacc pit that were bounty hunters or just, troopers or whatever, I think if you can pit them against each other, well, like, not necessarily against each other, but to, like, make them help you, and, they get out at the end, and I think there could be just this great shot as the sun is going down, not necessarily that day, or whatever, but the sun's going down in the desert, this great blue hue everywhere, and people are coming out, and, this whole movie he's been making friendships, he's been sticking up for certain people, and, like, they finally get out, and they're like, we did it, now what? And he just turns around and pew, pew, shoots them all dead, Michael Corleone style, just kills them. And then turns to camera and blackout. That's it. Because you gotta know, this guy's not good. Like, this whole movie, people are like, oh my god, you can't trust him, you can't trust him. And then he makes you trust him and makes you like him, even by not talking, but just by, and they help each other out to get out. And then he kills them at the end. I think that would be fantastic, because that would show you, this guy's not a good guy. This guy's an anti-hero. This guy's in it for himself. This guy is a sociopath, pretending to be good, making these friends, pretending to be a good guy, and then just offing them at the end, because he can't have, people around that helped him out, that he owes a favor to, whatever, and he just kills them, because he's an anti-hero, and I think that would be absolutely the best way to do it. I would be so in for that. That would make me love Boba Fett 100%. And it would make, if they wanted to continue his story in other movies, that'd be great, because you could just do you could have that formula of him just like, you want to love him, you want him to be a hero, and then he just kills people, and he's like, no, I'm in it for myself, for me, I think that would be absolutely perfect. Yeah, and there's some other Star Wars stuff I could talk about, but I don't want to. There's not a lot. There's a lot of books and comics that have come out and stuff. And the other thing I was gonna say is one thing I like what they're doing with the Star Wars casting specifically, is that they're staying away from big name actors, which I think is always good, and they're getting really, really talented young people that people don't necessarily know about, getting them into these roles, which is what Star Wars is built off of, which I think is the best idea you could do. But if there's one big name person that I could think of that I would want in a Star Wars movie, as a villain, as just like a small general part, like as a general or something, or senator or whatever, Nick Cage. Nicolas Cage is my number one pick. I love Nick Cage. Every Nick Cage movie, I love him, man. His freakouts are legendary, dude. He is great. Look, I'll show you, okay? I don't know if you can see it, but you see that? That's my background. A buddy of mine sent that to me. Isn't that amazing? I love Nick Cage. I could just see him like in a general's uniform. People are like, all right, what do we do? And he's like, I don't know. just flipping out. And people are like, or like a villain, just like, or like a henchman or something, just like completely nuts. I love Nicolas Cage, and that is my one exception. I want Nick Cage in a Star Wars movie. Or John Wick. He could be the villain in John Wick. Oh my god, yes. Nicolas Cage. I know you're not watching this. I know there's probably going to be 6 people who watch this, maybe. But we got to get Nick Cage into John Wick 2 or Star Wars or the Boba Fett movie. Make him Boba Fett. No, you can't do that. But, man. Or like just like a bartender in, at like the Mos Eisley, cantina. Oh, man. We got to get Nick Cage in. We got to. Man. Wow, I just got really excited. Nicolas Cage, do it, okay? But that's pretty much it for me. Like I said, John Wick 2 stuff, Star Wars, Jurassic World. I think it's been pretty good. Thanks again for watching. If you want to subscribe, you can. My videos are going to be kind of spotty. I haven't put up one in a while because I moved recently, so that's kind of been taking over my life, trying to figure all that out. But I'll probably be doing some more. Whenever something pops in my head, I like to just kind of do these raw videos, and it's been fun. Thanks for watching, and subscribe or whatever you want to do. I'm not going to tell you what to do, and peace.